Hey folks, today I'm going to do a demonstration from Cumberland Island. I love the marsh grasses, and I've been studying with an amazing artist, Jacob Aguilera. This is from his Patreon page. The top is a little color study, and then the bottom is my version of his 45-minute study. These are the colors that I kind of thought I might be using for today's demonstration. And here is my color study to do something quick, just trying to make sure the colors are what I want. Now here I have already started the underpainting with new pastel. I'm going to be adding alcohol wash to it. And here I did some little pen and ink sketches of the image. And look, I cleaned my pastels. That's what happens when you're confined at home. Well, not really confined, but we're supposed to be staying home. And clean those too. So what I'll be doing is applying alcohol to the underpainting. This is new pastel. It's a combination of a black and a very dark kind of purplish brown. And when you apply the alcohol, I want to apply it fairly carefully because I like the pattern that I've got, the design. So I don't want to just slosh it on there and ruin it. Now it's going to drip some, but what this is going to create is a kind of a value study, and it's going to give me a really good idea of the composition. The one thing about this image, the point of interest is really going to be back in this part. I think that's the most beautiful part of the photograph. And all the grasses, the sea grasses up front, will be the supporting actors and actresses. But they still need to be interestingly designed and have the eye move from here back to there. Now, like I said, I'm studying online with Jacob Aguilera on his Patreon page, and he uses a house brush, a house painting brush, one of the big suckers. I don't have one of those the size I like, but this is a Artist Loft. This is from Michael's. It's a pretty cheap brush because this is a very rough paper. This is UArt 400 pound or 400 grit paper. And if you use a good brush with it, it's going to destroy the paintbrush. Like, you'd never want to use a watercolor sable brush on this kind of paper. It's like working on a piece of emery board. So I kind of want the clouds to sort of do a swoosh this way, because the eye will be coming across this way, and then that'll complete my ZS pattern. Okay, let that dry. And when it drips from like that, it makes some interesting patterns that you might not have thought about. So here's the pastels that I have picked out according to my color study. And one of the things I've done here is I have worked on relocating that fairly large group of trees in the background. They were, yes, in the middle. So I wanted to move them. See, they end up in the middle there in that color sketch too. So I moved it over a little bit. Okay, this group of trees right here is part of what I think is so interesting. And I'm going to go ahead and go for that at this point. And I also, of course, had to make this correction because I wanted to move that bunch of trees over a little bit. So that's my center point. Now, part of the challenge is they are at a distance, so their color is going to be cool. And with this underpainting, I try not to overwork it. Try to keep my strokes fresh. Now, this group of trees is closer. It's a little bit warmer. And there's a distance group there that I'm going to change. It might be a little bright. I'll start out with this darker purple. And back, you can barely see it. There's just a little line of land way at a distance there. Now these two groups of trees also, one group is closer than the other. These are some new pastels as well as mixture of the harder pastels. You can put new pastel over top of a soft pastel. There, okay. And this group is a little warmer. It might be a little too warm. They're still at a distance. A little bit of warmth to that. Okay, now because I had to correct things, I'm going to come back in with this pink for the lower part of the horizon line. Negative paint around that group of trees. Try not to forget what I wanted those clouds to do. Sort of wispy sort of clouds. Okay. Don't want to overwork this because it's so much just at the beginning. So now I'm going to start working in some of the darks, similar to what went on with this piece from the workshop with Jacob. Now that's a very cool, it's kind of a blue-green. Just want to try to get the feeling, get some rhythm going on here. I like the fact that you can see different levels of movement of the grasses there. And that's similar to what would be if you had a line of trees. You don't want to put them equal space distance apart. And this is a kind of a brown purple, because this color down in here, it's very dark, but it's kind of warm. One thing I admire about Jacob's work is he has a lot of energy in his strokes. He doesn't overwork it. Keeps it fresh. Okay. So, in an attempt to not overwork it, establish that line. I'm going to go to some of the greens, cool greens. This is still down in the shadow area. It's a little bit warmer. Warmer greens up here. I've got some oranges down in here, so I'm going to use my new pastel stick for a few minutes. I know you don't really see all that much orange back here, but this is still the underpainting. I want to keep this nice and warm, even though it's at a distance. I'll start out with a warm color, and then I can always cool it down. I can easily use some of this orange here on these trees, just to pull a little more warmth in there and kind of connect some of my colors. Okay, I know one thing I do need to do is, this purple is a beautiful color, but it's way too bright and too dark. And it's jumping out at me. I have to calm it down. And it's very much at a distance, so its edges can be soft. Okay. So let's get in some of these blues, and I want the blues, even though you don't see them through the grasses here, I want the water to feel like it's flowing through these grasses. So I'll put them in, and then we can always come back over and rub grasses over top of it. But I want that feeling that they're moving back through the landscape.